Across ancient China, a monumental defense emerged. Not a single wall, but a sprawling, millennia-long saga of colossal fortifications. Born from the fear of northern invaders, it tells an epic story of human ambition, immense sacrifice, and a nation's fight for survival. From humble earthen mounds to towering stone ramparts, millions toiled, and countless lives were lost for humanity's most ambitious shield. Was it impenetrable, or a monumental folly? What did it truly cost? This is the story of the Great Wall of China, dragon's spine, humanity's shield. Before the dawn of imperial China, the land was a mosaic of rival kingdoms, locked in ceaseless, brutal struggle for supremacy. This was the Warring States period, a tumultuous era marked by relentless conflict, shifting alliances, and an enduring need for defense. Each of these independent states, Qin, Zhao, Yan, Wei, and others, built its own fortifications. These were not the continuous stone behemoths we imagine today, but rather disconnected segments of earthen walls and watchtowers, designed to protect their borders from neighboring rivals, and crucially from the persistent menace of the nomadic tribes from the northern steppes. These early fractured walls were a testament to a land in perpetual fear, a fragmented shield against a world of threats. But this age of division was destined to end. From the western state of Qin emerged a figure of unprecedented ambition and ruthless genius, Ying Zheng, who would later proclaim himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China. Through decades of relentless military campaigns, cunning diplomacy, and sheer brutal force, Qin Shi Huang systematically conquered all rival states. In 221 BCE, he achieved the unthinkable. He forged a single, vast empire from the ashes of a fragmented land, declaring himself the Son of Heaven and ushering in an era of unprecedented centralization and control. His vision extended beyond mere political conquest. He sought to standardize everything: currency, weights, measures, even the written language, and, critically, to secure the borders of his newly formed empire. For Qin Shi Huang, the internal walls that had once divided the warring states were now obsolete, symbols of a fractured past he sought to erase. His gaze turned north, towards the vast, unforgiving steppes from which the Xiongnu nomads, fierce horse-riding warriors, posed the most persistent and devastating threat to his consolidated realm. The emperor understood that to truly unify China, he needed to protect it from external enemies. His ambition was monumental: to dismantle the existing internal barriers and link the scattered northern defensive segments into a single, continuous, and impenetrable line of defense. A true long wall that would guard his new empire for eternity. The scale of this initial construction under Qin Shi Huang was staggering, a testament to his absolute power, and a project that would define the very essence of imperial ambition. Millions were conscripted into this colossal undertaking. Vast armies of soldiers, countless peasants forcibly removed from their lands, convicted criminals, and even scholars who dared to question the emperor's authority. This was forced labor on an epic scale, a human tide unleashed upon the unforgiving landscapes of northern China. The human cost was immense, unimaginable. Working in remote, desolate regions, under the relentless tyranny of overseers, laborers faced unimaginable hardship. The terrain was brutal towering mountains, scorching deserts, and freezing plateaus. Supplies were scarce, and disease, exhaustion, and malnutrition claimed countless lives. It's said that for every meter of the wall, a life was lost, and the bodies of the dead were often simply buried within the wall's foundations or alongside its path, turning the dragon's spine into a monument built with blood and tears. The early sections of Qin Shi Huang's wall were primarily constructed from tamped earth, a labor-intensive but effective method. Layers of soil, gravel, and sometimes even weeds or wood were pounded firmly into place, creating a remarkably durable barrier. Timber was used for scaffolding, and to reinforce certain sections, while rubble and local stones might fill gaps or serve as foundations. This was not the majestic stone and brick structure we envision today. Those advancements would come centuries later. The logistical challenges were equally formidable, moving vast quantities of materials, tools, and, crucially, feeding, and housing an army of laborers across thousands of miles of often uninhabited and hostile territory required an unprecedented feat of organization and control. The strategic purpose of Qin's wall was complex. While it couldn't entirely prevent small incursions, its primary function was to control movement across the border, funneling invaders toward specific passes where they could be confronted. It served as a vast watchtower system, allowing for rapid communication via smoke signals by day and fire by night, providing early warning of approaching threats. It was also a psychological barrier, a physical manifestation of the empire's power and its determination to keep the nomadic barbarians at bay. Yet, it wasn't an impenetrable shield. Its sheer length made it difficult to man adequately, and sections were often breached. But its true significance lay in its ambition. It was a physical declaration of a unified China's new identity, a demarcation line between the civilized world and the wild, chaotic lands beyond. The Great Wall, in its earliest form, was a direct reflection of Qin Shi Huang's insatiable desire for immortality, absolute control, and an eternally secure empire. It was a physical manifestation of his singular vision for a unified realm. Though much of his original earthen wall has crumbled back into the landscape, absorbed by time and nature, his ambition laid the undeniable foundation. He transformed a patchwork of defenses into the grand concept of the Great Wall, setting a precedent that later dynasties would follow, expand, and ultimately immortalize. His wall was the audacious first breath of a legendary structure that would forever stand as a testament to human endeavor. For centuries after the unified vision of Qin Shi Huang, the various dynasties that ruled China continued to maintain, repair, and extend sections of the northern defenses. From the Han to the Tang and beyond, the concept of a long wall endured, evolving and adapting to shifting threats and technologies. Yet, none would embark on a building project that rivaled Qin's initial ambition until the rise of a new imperial power, the Ming Dynasty. The Ming Dynasty emerged from the ashes of Mongol rule, expelling the Yuan Dynasty and establishing a new era of native Chinese governance. Having endured nearly a century of foreign domination, the Ming emperors harbored a deep-seated fear of external invasion, particularly from the persistent and formidable Mongol tribes to their north. This renewed and intense national anxiety, coupled with a period of internal stability and economic growth, provided the impetus for the most ambitious and enduring phase of Great Wall construction. What we recognize today as the Great Wall of China, the majestic, serpentine structure of stone and brick that winds across the landscape, is overwhelmingly a product of the Ming Dynasty's relentless efforts. This era marked a profound technological leap in wall construction. Unlike Qin's predominantly rammed earth barriers, the Ming Wall was built largely with durable, kiln-fired bricks and meticulously cut stone blocks. This choice of material represented a significant engineering advancement. Bricks, produced in massive kilns erected near construction sites, offered superior strength, weather resistance, and allowed for the construction of much taller and more robust walls. Stone, quarried from nearby mountains, formed solid foundations and critical structural elements. The sheer logistics of producing, transporting, and laying billions of bricks and countless tons of stone across such vast and challenging terrain was an undertaking that defied imagination. Laborers formed human chains, passed materials hand-to-hand up steep mountain slopes, or utilized primitive but effective pulley systems and rolling log platforms. The Ming engineers were masters of their craft, demonstrating an acute understanding of topography and defense. The wall was not a uniform structure. It adapted to the landscape. It snaked along the contours of mountain ridges, maximizing natural defenses. Valleys were spanned by towering ramparts, while strategic passes were heavily fortified. They developed sophisticated drainage systems to prevent water erosion, ensuring the wall's longevity. The mortar, a crucial binding agent, was a testament to their ingenuity. While early Ming mortar used a mix of slaked lime and sand, later they famously incorporated glutinous rice flour into the mixture, creating a bond so strong that sections of the wall remain intact today, enduring centuries of weathering. Integral to the Ming wall's design were its elaborate watchtowers and beacon towers. These structures, often 2 or 3 stories tall, were not merely observation posts. They served as fortified mini-fortresses, offering refuge for garrisons, storing weapons and supplies, and housing living quarters. Each tower was strategically placed within visual or audible range of its neighbors, creating a sophisticated communication network. In times of peace, smoke signals by day and fire signals by night would relay messages across vast distances with astonishing speed, allowing for early warning of any approaching threat. During wartime, these towers became defensive strongholds, providing platforms for archers and later, cannons, enabling a layered defense. The wall's most formidable points were its strategically important passes gaps in the mountain ranges, or natural choke points where invaders would be forced to concentrate. Places like Shanhai Pass at the eastern end, where the wall famously meets the sea, or Juyong Pass near Beijing, were transformed into colossal fortresses. These passes featured massive gates, multi-layered defensive structures, and extensive barracks to house large garrisons. They were designed not just to block, but to crush any invading force attempting to break through. Despite the Ming Dynasty's advanced engineering and materials, the construction of this masterpiece came at an unquantifiable human cost. Millions of soldiers, convicts, and conscripted peasants toiled on the wall for decades. The conditions remained brutal, perhaps even more so due to the sheer scale and the use of heavier materials. Workers faced extreme weather conditions, from scorching summer heat to freezing winter blizzards. Disease was rampant, accidents were common, and exhaustion was constant. The popular saying, "Every brick costs a life," while a poetic exaggeration, reflects the horrific reality of the suffering endured. Many died, their bodies buried where they fell, becoming an anonymous part of the wall itself. The Ming Wall's strategic effectiveness was complex. It was not an impenetrable barrier that could entirely stop determined armies, as evidenced by its ultimate failure to prevent the Manchu conquest of China in 1644. However, it served as a formidable psychological deterrent, a clear demarcation line between settled agricultural China and the nomadic steppes. It effectively controlled trade and migration, reducing raiding parties, and served as an elevated highway for rapid troop deployment along its crest. It transformed border defense from a series of scattered skirmishes into a more organized and integrated system. Ultimately, the Ming Dynasty's colossal efforts transformed a functional defensive line into a potent symbol. This majestic stone serpent, winding across China's northern frontier, became the enduring emblem of Chinese resilience, its determination to defend its culture, and the unified identity of the empire. It stood not just as a physical barrier, but as a monument to human will and sacrifice, embodying the very spirit of a nation. For centuries, the formidable ramparts of the Great Wall had stood as China's primary defense against the nomadic incursions from the north. Yet paradoxically, the Ming Dynasty, which had poured so much blood and treasure into its construction, ultimately fell not because the wall was breached by force, but through a devastating act of betrayal. In 1644, as the Ming imperial capital of Beijing faced a rebellion from within, a crucial Ming general, Wu Zhangui, made a fateful decision. Rather than fighting the approaching Manchu forces from beyond the wall, He famously opened the gates of Shanghai Pass, the mighty eastern bastion where the wall met the sea. He sought Manchu assistance to crush the internal rebels, inadvertently ushering in the end of the Ming Dynasty and the beginning of the foreign-led Qing Dynasty. This dramatic event underscored a crucial truth: no physical barrier, however colossal, could ultimately withstand internal strife or the complex machinations of human will. The wall proved vulnerable not to a frontal assault, but to the very political instability it was meant to defend against. With the Manchu-led Qing Dynasty now in power, the Great Wall lost its primary strategic purpose. The traditional enemies from the north, the Manchus themselves, were now the rulers of China. There was no longer a need for a massive defensive line against them. Consequently, the vast majority of the Ming Wall was largely neglected during the Qing era. Many sections fell into disrepair, crumbling into ruins as nature reclaimed stones and earth. Its role shifted from an active military defense to a more symbolic border demarcation, a relic of a past age. The wall, once a symbol of constant vigilance, slowly faded into the background of a unified empire that stretched far beyond its ancient boundaries. Over the centuries, as the wall ceased to be a frontline defense and entered the realm of history, it also became fertile ground for myth and legend, some of which persist to this day. Perhaps the most pervasive and enduring myth is the claim that the Great Wall of China is the only man-made structure visible from the moon, or even from low Earth orbit with the naked eye. This is unequivocally false. Astronauts and scientists have consistently debunked this notion. The wall is simply too narrow, too low in contrast, and its materials often blend too seamlessly with the surrounding landscape to be distinctly visible without optical aid, even from relatively low orbital altitudes. It's a romantic idea, but scientifically inaccurate. Another common misconception is that the Great Wall is a single, continuous structure. As we have explored, it is, in fact, a vast network of interconnected walls, trenches, and fortifications, built and rebuilt by numerous dynasties over more than 2 millennia, adapting to different terrains and defensive strategies. There are significant gaps, overlapping sections, and different construction styles across its immense length. Finally, the tragic but widespread myth that the bodies of deceased laborers were mixed into the mortar or buried within the wall's foundations is also largely unsubstantiated by archaeological evidence. While countless lives were indeed lost during its brutal construction, and many were buried nearby, modern scientific analysis of the mortar has not revealed human remains within its binding mixture. Despite these myths, the Great Wall's true power lies in its profound cultural and symbolic significance. It stands as an enduring testament to China's immense and continuous history, a tangible representation of its national identity, its resilience in the face of adversity, and its unwavering determination to defend its borders and culture. It is a source of immense national pride for the Chinese people, embodying the spirit of collective effort and perseverance. Today, the Great Wall is not a military barrier, but a global icon, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that draws millions of tourists each year. This newfound role brings its own challenges, as preservationists battle natural erosion, environmental factors, and the immense wear and tear from human visitors. Herculean efforts are continuously underway to restore and protect this irreplaceable monument. The story of the Great Wall of China is ultimately a microcosm of human history itself. It speaks to the grand scale of human ambition, the ingenuity of ancient engineering, the unfathomable cost of forced labor, and the enduring human desire for security and identity. It reminds us that while physical barriers may provide temporary protection, they cannot halt the relentless march of time, the shifting tides of politics, or the unstoppable force of human will and circumstance. The Great Wall stands, a silent, majestic witness to China's epic past, a timeless symbol of its soul, and a powerful monument to the extraordinary endeavors of humankind.